Ever wished you could build a real web application without wrestling with the complex frameworks? In this video, we'll turn a plain script in Python into a clean, interactive portfolio website using Streamlit. My name is Bodan, and today we'll build a professional portfolio, as I mentioned, with Streamlit. You'll learn the Streamlit core loop, how to add inputs and layouts, and how to ship a professional looking application quickly with no HTML or CSS required, just pure Python. Let's get it started. As you can see, we have different tabs with about, experience, project, skills, education. If I'm going to modify this to something else like 15, then refreshing this will drop this down to 15. Mandatory, but if you want to make it look nice, you can add a bunch of those things in order to make it look more beautiful. Let's start by looking into Streamlit in their official website and see what we got here. So first of all, you can find in their official page, you can find a playground where you can play with the components and everything so that you know how they look like. This is pretty cool. If I'm going into hello, you will see that we will see a page that says hello. You also have gallery, which is showing some of other people that have built and also published, because you can also deploy using Streamlit. Then you have components, cloud, but most important here that we want to use is the documentation. Before that, we want to make sure that in the initial page, we go into the get started because we want to see how exactly we will be starting using Streamlit. So first of all, what we have to do is to actually do a pip install to Streamlit, because this does not come with Python built-in modules. So let's open the project file that I created here. It's a simple file named portfolio.py. And in here, I'm going to paste the command that I copied from the official website. Now, as you can see, it will say a requirement already satisfied, and that is because I already have Streamlit installed. But in your case, I assume it will start downloading all the files that Streamlit is needed in order to run on your computer. Now, getting back to our website, we will see that we have this command Streamlit hello. And I'm assuming if we paste this here, we will get an example of the website with just hello. This is the default with some demo content in order to see how the website will look like. So Streamlit is pretty good at showing data. As you can see here, it has a lot of components that help you manage the data and also visualize it in various ways. As you can see here, we have even maps and we even have animations here. So it's pretty powerful, but for our purpose, we will not be using this demo. Actually, I was just showing you how we can actually start a website. Now, if you go into documentations, you will see here that despite the setup and installation, which we already did, there is an API reference and an application gallery. But in here, we can do concepts, we can learn about everything and so on. This is the official documentation. For the purpose of this video, I will be going, because I already went over the documentation, and we will build together a portfolio in Streamlit. So let's get it started. Now, for the first thing that we have to do is close the previous application that we started, clear the terminal, and now let's build our own page. So first of all, we have to import Streamlit, right? And I'm going to import it as an acronym, which is ST, because you will see later in the script, I will be using this ST a bunch of times. So I don't want to all the time type Streamlit, but only ST because it's shorter and faster to use. The first thing that we have to do is a page setup. So in this page setup, we want to do an ST, which is basically coming from Streamlit right now, and we will do a set page config. And this config has the page title, page icon, we have a layout, and initial sidebar state, right? So we will be doing this configuration as following. We will type page title, not like title, and this is going to be my portfolio or something. You can type anything here. And then we will go with page icon. And in here, I have some icons prepared already. Let me just copy paste it. I have the small suitcase, which is also looking at the, as a robot. And for the layout, I want to make sure it is wide, and you can check their documentation for more details about the layout. It's not necessarily something important, but I'm going to use wide because you will see I have a lot of text in my website. And I'm also looking to get the menu items because I want to have a menu, and it's going to be with underscore, and I'm going to have a menu, and this menu is going to be like a dictionary, and we will have get help here, which is going to be none for now. We will have report bug, which is again going to be none. We won't be using those, but for the about one, we will be using, for example, a clean single file Streamlit portfolio. Just just a random title that we give. So this is basically the page configuration. For now, we will be using this one right here. And in order to run the script, it's like Streamlit and then portfolio.py, which is going to run the script. I don't see, oops, it is actually Streamlit run portfolio.py, and you will see it's going to start the Streamlit application. I'm already having a bug. Let me see. I forgot to add a comma in here, and that's throwing this error. But then this is good because I can show you if I do any modification and save the file, you will see in here we got a rerun option. And if I'm going to press rerun, the website is going to be refreshed. Now, you won't see anything in the page right now because we only configured this part right here. As you can see, we have the icon that we had and my portfolio, which is the title that we gave to this page. For the menus, you will see later on what exactly it's this menu about. Okay, so let's go further and do some sample content because I don't have any content right now for my portfolio. I'm just going to grab something from the internet, so hold tight. Okay, so I copied some content, as you can see here, from the internet. I used this sample content area so that I know, and I was using some data type. So I'm going to import from typing, I'm going to import list and also from dictionaries so they don't have any bugs right now. So what I did here is that I was copying some name, role, taglines, location, email, websites, and everything. It's just mock data, so it's not real data, but I just wanted to show you how they look like. Basically, it's a list which contains, in this case, it's a dictionary, but in this case for skills, we have a list which contains multiple dictionaries because we have for each skill a different dictionary, and you can see here we also added keywords. You can basically format your data as you want. It's just important to keep track of it because later on you will see that we will play with the data and we have to manipulate the data in such a way that it is going to be used in displaying the data in our website. Now let's go with the utilities. In here, I'm going to inject some CSS, but that's going to be for the end part because this, as I mentioned, this is not required. I just want to make it look more cleaner. This is going to be a to do actually because we don't want to do it right now because this is not about CSS. So I'm going to create a function which I will be calling chips, and in here I'm getting items. What this does actually, it is just an utility to turn a list into a styled tags with emojis instead of manually writing each one. So in here, I'm going to be using items, which is a list basically of strings, which is then going to be actually a string. And I'm going to return in here the string where I join. And in here, I'm going to use an f string where I do some CSS. This is again not necessary, but I'm doing this so that you will see how powerful it can become if you actually want to give it some information to this as well. So let me quickly do this here so that we don't break anything, like this right here. Let's delete this, and we do here st, that's session state. This is also coming from Streamlit. That get, we get here the basically the emoji map, and in here I'm going to use as empty dictionary with get. This is not coming here, but it's coming here. That get, and for the get I'm going to do an I dot lower, because I want that I to actually be later on called, and I will show you exactly how in here. And I'm going to do this span or I in items. So this is going to look pretty much like this. What this actually does is just, as I mentioned, an utility that turns a list into a styled tag with emoji. Okay, and another function in the utility side I want to do is basically creating a collect all technologies. In here it must be underscore, and in here I'm not going to give any parameter, but just empty, which is going to result in a list of strings again. And for here I'm going to do a tag which is equal to an empty set, and for each e in experience, because as I mentioned I have some experience here. Let me quickly go over experience here, as you can see, and I'm going to get all the tech from that. And I'm going to do tech.update, because I'm going to update this set, and I'm going to give it like e.get, and I'm going to do tech because that's the value of the key, or nothing. If there is nothing, we will leave it empty. And then I'm going to do the same, but this time for key in projects, because in the projects you will see here I'm also having tech, right? So I want to take that as well. This is just data manipulation you can do in even simple ways. So I'm going to get key, and in here again tech, or if there's nothing, let's go with an empty list. And the last thing in here, I'm going with for as in skills, because that's another option that we have. I'm going to do tech.add as of name, but in this case I'm going to, because this includes skill name basically, that's what it does. And for k in as that get keywords, otherwise we leave it empty, and in here I'm going to add a. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And in here at the end I'm going to return sorted list. So the next thing that I'm doing is the sidebar, and now the actual website building is starting. So with st.sidebar, because this is the command, in here I'm going to use a title, because it has a title where we can say hello there. Then we have an st.write, and in here you can add a simple data, like this is a simple portfolio swap in your details, and go. It's just a mock description or about section that I'm reading here. Okay. In here, I'm also thinking to include the socials. So for the social media, I'm going to use markdowns. So I'm going to use st.markdown, which is basically helping us to display string formatted as markdown. So in here, I'm thinking of adding, let me add a bunch of these for the multi-line purpose. And I'm going to add contact, and I'm adding this asterisk because it's the markdown. So because of the markdown, this is going to have a different size and style. And after this, I'm going to do, for example, email. And in here for mail, I think it's mail too. And I'm going to use email here. Yeah, I think that's how it works. Yep. And what about something else? I'm also thinking of adding, I don't know, GitHub. Yeah, GitHub should be good. And in here, I'm going to add JH just for the purpose of time. And at the end of everything, I'm going to use that format, and email equal to profile of email, because the email is basically in my profile here somewhere. Yep, as you can see here. So let's go with this one right here. And for the GitHub, I'm going to use profile, and I think it was GitHub. Yeah, it was GitHub, this one right here. Okay, and that's pretty much it. Let's see how this looks like. So I'm going to save the file, come into here, rerun this, and let's go. We already have some data here. Of course, it's not looking great yet, but it's the data, it's inside here. And it seems like we missed something with the GitHub thing, because contact seems to work somehow, but it's not fully completed. So in order to have this structured in a better way, we will be doing something like, let me see, we do a st markdown, and in here we do an hr, which is going to use unsafe HTML true. Let's see if this changes anything. Yep, as you can see, it's adding this cool line here. Give me 1 second so I can look at this one again. Oh, yeah, so I missed this one right here. Let's see if this is going to work now. Okay. Yep, now as you can see, it works just fine. Okay. Or we can also do something like this. I'm not sure if this is going to properly work, but let's just test a few things. Yeah, it's not going to work like that. Okay, so let's just get rid of this for now. And yeah, leave it as it is. We will come back to this for the styling later on. We don't SD that caption. We do filters. And this caption right here, what it's going to do is display the text in small font. So this should be used for captions, sides, footnotes, side notes, and auto-explanatory text. And we have as a parameter the body, which is basically I'm going to do filters. And in here, I'm going to use the alt tag, which is collect alt tag, the function that we previously created to get all the technical skills. And we do selected equal to st multi-select. Right now, what we want to do is to give an option for the user to select from a list of skills. So I'm going to use in here some data like filter by tag, just to make sure the person understands what that selection is about. We go options, alt tag, because this is basically what we created here, getting all the skills. And after that, I'm also doing a placeholder, which is basically the information that it's there before you type anything. So it's Python, React, or whatever else. Let's see how this looks like. Okay, so as you can see here, filters, the placeholder, which is Python, React, and everything. And in here are all the skills that we created or collected by using this function right here, which is basically this function which collects all the technologies that we've been using from experience, projects, or skills. Okay, so let's continue with this. So we have the selected ones, and now we want to create a session state, which is basically about filters, which is equal to set selected. And you will see what this exactly means, because we will do markdown, which is again an HR in here, and unsafe HTML, allow HTML, and resume. And if we want to add a button, for example, we want to add our resume, our technical profile, we will do this button which has a label, which we will be doing label equal to download resume. For the other purposes, maybe you want to add a button to download your resume or technical profile. Right now it's not doing anything because it's not connected to something, but if you want, you can connect that to something else. Let me quickly restart this because I don't like seeing all the errors right there. Okay, so for now we have the sidebar. Now what we can do is start building the header, right? Let's go over the header and let's see what we can do in here. So we have left and right. There are two variables which are columns. In our case, columns right here are pretty easy because it lets you insert containers laid out as side-by-side columns, right? So it's basically helping you do the CSS that you usually would do in a website, but in a more simpler way. You use columns because you can insert a number of multiple elements containers laid out side by side, and returns a list of containers objects. So it's pretty simple to understand. And in here, I'm going to do 3 with 1 because you will understand. You can play with this, but you will see how this looks like. So with left, because I want to go into the left side, we will do a markdown, which we will be doing this name. Again, this is markdown, it's MD, and this is going to display it in a different way. Depends on what exactly the signals you are using here. You can look for the markdowns on the internet, how they look like and everything. And for the name, I'm going to use that format, name equal to profile. And in here, I'm going to do name because that's the name. And you will see if I refresh now, a type error. And that is because, oh, I created double list here, which shouldn't be the case. My bad. I'm going to delete one of these. Going to save and rerun this. And as you can see, there is my name, which is not properly working right now. But so let's continue with markdown, and we do for example, role here. So I'm going to use profile. Oops, not like this, but like this. So I'm going to use profile role in here because I want to show the role, which again will be like this, but not here. st markdown, which is going to be, let's add what else? I guess profile, location, Yeah, I think location should be an information that is showing here, which I want to add. So I'm going to use like this. I think that's a nice way of seeing things. Let me see if this is going to work. Yeah, this one right here, I think I forgot to close it, or I'm closing it. I should be like this. Let me quickly check. Yep. So you can see that it's your name, title, and the location that it's happening right now. Yep. And let's add something on the right side. Let's go with which is going to do metric. And in here, I'm going to add years experience. And for example, value equal to, I'm going to do an, and in here, I'm going to use the date, but I have to import it. So let me import the date. So let me import from import date time SDT. And at the bottom, we will use in here, for example, dt.date, that's today, that year, minus 2021, for example. And do another metric, which is going to do projects. And in here, I'm going to use value because this metric, let me quickly explain. This metric right here is displaying a metric in big bold font with an optional indicator. If you want to display a larger number, it might be a good idea to shorten it using the package like minify or normalize. But for us, the value is going to be different because it's a string, which is len of projects. For example, we want to see how many of these. Let's see how this looks like. If I rerun this, as you can see on the right side, because we have the right side, it's going to say years of experience 4 plus, and the projects we have 3 because this is the data that we have in the mock data we used. Okay, and let's also add st that markdown, and in here I'm going to use a br, which is basically a space, and unsafe html allowed again, which is going to be this is going to do a space in here, which is not visible, but you will see after we add the tabs, because now we are at the tabs. In the tabs, we want to have about tab, experience tab, projects tab, skills tab, education tab, and I think that's it. And I'm going to do st tabs, which in here I'm going to name them about. Next one will be experience. Next one will be project, skills, and I think the last one was education. Yeah, that's correct. Let's see how they look like. As you can see, we have different tabs with about, experience, project, skills, education. And we won't be covering all of them right now, but you will see a few examples. So in order to start writing something in which one of them, we will go with again, which is going to be about, we start with this one because we want to keep it short, which is subheader. We create a subheader of it. We go with about. We want to make sure of this, and we write here simple. I'm Bodan and I love doing tutorial videos. Let's see how this looks like. As you can see, you can type here whatever you want. It has the about subtitle or whatever it's called. And then if you go into the others, it's not going to be visible. Okay. Now for the next thing that we will be building, it's the experience tab, which we can work with. So for experience tab, we do an SD subheader again, because we want to let them know that they are on the experience tab. And for E in experience, because that is where our experience is, if st.session state, and I don't know if you remember when we use this session state, if we go over the session state here, you will see that now we can get whatever it's called filters, right? Session state, which is going to be filters again. And in here, I'm going to do add set of if that, otherwise it should be just empty. Now, if I'm going to do something here after this if, it's a continue, because with st container, we create now a container, which what this container does, it inserts a multi-element container. Inserts an invisible container into your app that can be used to hold multiple elements. This allows you to, for example, insert multiple elements into your app out of order. So let me show you how this looks like. I'm going to do a st markdown, and in here I'm going to insert hello there, because I don't want to overcomplicate this. And in here you can see it's hello there. You can type whatever else. I'm going to continue with the skills tab because we don't have enough time. I will show you what you can achieve with more time if you allow it. So SD subheader, again, we want to have skills. And in here I'm going to do for as in skills, because I want each skill. I'm going to create a column and column 2, which is going to be columns. And in columns here, columns, sorry for misspelling that, and it's going to be 1 and 3, which is vice versa of the previous one with column 1. This here is expected to be column 1. Sorry for misspelling it again. st, I'm going to create an f string, and then we do as of name, because we want the name of the skill, if s.get keywords. Then st caption, we add a caption, which whatever caption does is actually display the text in a very small font, like a caption, obviously. And in here in the caption, I'm going to do like this, that join, because I want to join each caption, each keyword, and as of keywords. Let me show you after I finish column 2 as well. I'm going to do st progress, and it's going to be int as.get, and I'm going to get the level. Otherwise, it's going to be 0. And I will show you what this looks like. If you noticed, in my skills, I also have the level, which is showing how good I am at a specific skill. And in here, I made 2 columns. One, which is saying the name of the skill, along with a caption, which is the keyword of the skill. And I will show you what that means and how it looks like. And I also have a progress, which this progress is basically a progress bar, which goes from 0 to 100, or for the float part, we will go from 1.0.0 to 1.0. And here is how it looks like. Let me show you. Right now I'm getting an error. Let me see. Yeah, so I think I have to put this one here, actually. That's the error. So this is how it looks like. As you can see, we have Python. Not sure why the markdown is not working right now, but we also have the small keywords right here. So basically it's showing what my skills are in Python and what frameworks I'm using in Python. And then this is the progress bar, how good I am at this. So for example, in let's see, Docker and CLI, Cloud and DevOps, if I'm going to modify this to something else like 15, then refreshing this will drop this down to 15, right? So this is basically a cool way to visualize the data and the skills that you have. Okay, good. I think I will be adding st.markdown, and in here I'm going to add hr again. And for here, again, unsave HTML with true, because I want to delimitate the footer. So this is actually footer. st caption, because I want small text like build with YouTube community or something. Let's see how this looks like. As you can see, build with YouTube community. Whatever we do here, that will be showing up here. Yeah. So this is basically what we can build with Streamlit. I have created this project previously, so if you add a little bit of something like CSS or things like this is basically how it looks like for me right now, because I have added some CSS as well. It's not mandatory, as you can see, it works pretty much without that. But if you want to give it a more premium look, it will help you with this. So if I'm going to save this and run this again, you will see this get a little bit more, it comes to life. And in here for the skills, it shows exactly the same. For the projects, you could do something like this. And this one right here, I have been doing it actually with some CSS, to be fair, because, oops, not here. So I'm going to search for project. This I have been doing it with projects with some CSS, as you can see, Markdown, and in here I created a class which is card and so on. It's not mandatory, but if you want to make it look nice, you can add a bunch of those things in order to make it look more beautiful. But yeah, that was the project. That's pretty much it for today. Thanks again for looking into this video. If you learned something new today, please don't forget to subscribe, give a like, or if you have any questions or if you encountered any issue, don't forget you have the comment section where you can ask me anything. You can even recommend me or give me some feedback about how this video was built. Maybe I can improve myself for the next videos. Thanks again for watching and hope you have a nice one.